George's Secret Key to the Universe, Chapter 27. The next day was the day of the big science competition at school. George left home early. He said goodbye to his pig, kissed his mother, put Eric's book on black holes into his school bag, and scooted out of the door, breakfast in hand. His dad offered to take him to school on the back of his bicycle made for two, but George just yelled, "No thanks, Dad," and was gone, leaving his parents feeling like a small tornado had just swept through the house. George ran up the road and when he got to the main intersection, he looked back to see if either of his parents was waving at him from the door. When he saw that they weren't, he turned left at the corner instead of right, the direction he would have taken to go to school. He knew he didn't have much time, so he hurried along as fast as he could. As he ran, thoughts streamed through his head. He thought about Eric, who, by now, would be swallowed up by the giant dark menace of the black hole, the strongest force in the universe. He thought about Cosmos, and whether George would find him in the place where he was headed. He thought about Annie, whom he would see later at the competition. Would she believe him when he told her that her dad had been tricked by an evil former colleague into taking a journey across outer space that had plunged him into great danger? Now George understood why Annie told such extraordinary stories. After the wonders of the universe, real life did seem pretty dull. He couldn't imagine a life without Annie or Cosmos or Eric now. Or at least he could, but he didn't want to. He had to save Eric. He had to. George didn't know and couldn't imagine why Dr. Reaper wanted to throw Eric into a black hole and steal his amazing computer. But he could guess that whatever Dr. Reaper was up to, it wasn't for the good of mankind, science, Eric, or anyone else. Whatever Dr. Reaper's aim was, George felt that it was a horrible one. The other thing that went through George's head as he ran toward Dr. Reaper's house was the science competition later that day. If he won the competition by giving a great talk about the solar system, even his dad wouldn't be able to say no to George having the computer in his house. The problem was that the awesome plan George had cooked up to save Eric from being eaten up by a black hole meant he wouldn't actually be at the competition. So he had no hope of winning. It wasn't easy for George to give up the idea of entering, but he knew that he had no choice if he wanted to get Eric back. There was no other way to do it. George reached 42 Forest Way and took a few moments to catch his breath. As he panted quietly, he looked at his house in front of him. The driveway led through some dilapidated gates to a huge old building with weird-looking turrets sticking out of the roof. George crept up the driveway to the house and stared in through a large window. Through the grimy glass, he saw a room full of furniture covered in yellowing sheets and cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. Picking his way through a bed of nettles, he tiptoed to the next set of windows. One of the windows was slightly open at the bottom. Looking in, George saw a familiar sight. In the middle of a crazed mess of pipes, cables, and narrow glass tubes holding brightly colored, bubbling liquids was Dr. Reaper, with his back to him, standing in front of a computer that was glowing with green light. Even from behind, George could tell that Dr. Reaper was not at all happy. He watched as his teacher struck the computer keyboard wildly, using all of his fingers at once, as though playing a very difficult piano solo. The window was open just enough for George to hear what he was saying. "See?" Dr. Reaper yelled at the computer screen. "I can't keep doing this all day. Eventually, I'll find the secret key. You just see if I don't. And when I do, you'll have to let me into the universe. You'll have to." "Negative," replied Cosmos. "You have entered an incorrect command. I cannot process your request." Dr. Reaper tried some different keys. "Error," said Cosmos. "Error type 293. "Grrr!" cried Dr. Reaper. "I will crack you, Cosmos. I will." At that moment, his phone rang. He snatched it up. "Yes," he barked into the receiver. "Ah," he went on to a more polite voice. "Hello, you got my message?" He coughed in a very fake way. "I'm not feeling so good today. No, just a bad cold. I think I'll have to take a day off. Such a shame about the competition." He coughed a few more times. "Sorry, have to run. I'm feeling really foggy. Bye." He slammed the phone down and turned back to Cosmos. "See, little computer," he said, rubbing his hands. "Now I have all day." "I do not operate for anyone who is not a member of the Order," replied Cosmos, sounding very brave. Ha 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 ha! Dr. Reaper laughed crazily. So the old order still exists, does it? Those silly busybodies who think that they can save the planet and humanity. The fools, he went on. They should save themselves while there is still time. That's what I intend to do. Forget humanity. Humans don't deserve to be saved. He spat on the floor. Look what they've done so far to this beautiful planet. I'm going to start again, somewhere else, with a new life form. Those silly boys think I'll be taking them with me, but I won't. Ha 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 ha! I'll leave them here to die, like the rest of the human race. I'll be the only one left in the universe, me and my new life form, which will obey my every word. All I need is to get out there into outer space. You, Cosmos, are going to help me. Negative, replied Cosmos. I refuse to operate for a non-member of the order. I was a member once, claimed Dr. Reaper. Your membership was cancelled, replied Cosmos firmly. After you. Yes, said Dr. Reaper quickly. Let's not talk about that. Don't bring up bad memories now, Cosmos. Surely, it's time to forgive and forget. He spoke in a horrible, syrupy voice. Negative, said Cosmos, causing Dr. Reaper to rise up in a fury in front of the computer and bring his hands crashing down once more on the keyboard. Ouch, said Cosmos, a few bright sparks flying out from the keyboard. George couldn't bear to watch any longer. As much as he wanted to break in and stop Dr. Reaper from hurting poor Cosmos any more, he knew it was vital to get him out of the house and away from the great computer as quickly as possible. To do that, George needed to get to school. He ran back until he reached the school gates. Big buses sat in the roads outside, hordes of children wearing different colored school uniforms climbing out of them. These were the other kids from nearby schools arriving to take part in the science competition. George weaved through the crowd, saying, excuse me, sorry. He was searching for someone. George! He heard his name and looked around, but couldn't see who was shouting at him. Then he spotted her, a tiny figure in a dark blue uniform, jumping up and down and waving at him. He scrambled over to her as quickly as he could. Annie, he said when he reached her, I'm so glad to see you. Come on, we haven't a minute to spare. What's up? Said Annie, wrinkling her nose. Is something wrong with your talk? Is that your boyfriend? A much older boy in the same school uniform, as Annie interrupted him. Oh, go away, Annie snapped at the bigger boy, and say stupid things to someone else. George held his breath in fear, waiting to see what the bigger boy would do, but he just turned away meekly and got lost in the crowd. Where have you been? George asked Annie. I told you, replied Annie. At Granny's house. Mom dropped me back at school, so I haven't even been home yet. What's wrong, George? What is it? Annie, George said very seriously, I've got something awful to tell you. But he didn't get the chance. A teacher blew a whistle very loudly, forcing everyone to be quiet. Okay, everybody, the teacher announced. I want you all to line up in your school groups, ready to go into the Great Hall, where the science competition will begin. You, he pointed at George in his dark green uniform, among a crowd of kids in blue, are with the wrong school. Kindly go and find your own group before you confuse people any more. Meet me just outside the hall, George hissed to Annie. It's really important, Annie. I need your help. With that, he left her and joined his own school group. He started walking toward the hall, looking now for someone, or rather, several someones else, when he saw them. Ringo and his group of friends hovering in the hallway. George knew what he had to do. He grabbed the nearest teacher and started speaking in a very loud voice. Sir! He yelled. Sir! What is it, George? Said the teacher, backing off a little unexpected volume. Sir! Shouted George again, making sure everyone around had stopped what they were doing and was listening to him. I need to change the topic of my talk. I'm not sure that's possible, said the teacher. And do you mind not shouting? But I have to, bellowed George. I've got a new title. What's the title? Said the teacher, who was now worried that the boy had gone a little crazy. It's Cosmos, the world's most amazing computer, and how he works. I see, said the teacher, thinking George was definitely insane. I'll ask the judging panel what they think. Oh, good, thank you, sir, George yelled even louder than before. Did you catch the whole title? It's Cosmos, the world's most amazing computer, and how he works. Thank you, George, said the teacher quietly. I'll do my best. As he walked up, sighing deeply to himself, George noticed that Ringo had taken out his cell phone and was making a call. All he could do now was wait. George stood by the entrance to the hall, watching the long lines of school children file in past him. He didn't have to wait long before, out of breath and trembling with excitement, Dr. Reaper rushed up to him. George, he exclaimed, smoothing his hair down with one scaly hand. Did you manage to change the topic of your talk, that is? I think so, George told him. I'll check for you, said Dr. Reaper. Don't worry. You go ahead and give the talk on Cosmos and how he works, and I'll make sure it's okay with the judging panel. Good idea for a talk, George. Brilliant. Just then the principal came by. Reaper, he said curiously, I heard you were ill today. I'm feeling much better, stated Dr. Reaper firmly, and very much looking forward to the competition. That's the spirit, said the principal. I'm so glad you're here, Reaper. One of the judges has had to drop out, so you're just the man to take his place. Oh, no, said Dr. Reaper hurriedly. I'm sure you can find someone much better. Nonsense, said the principal. You're just the ticket. Come along, Reaper. You can sit with me. Grimacing, Reaper had no choice but to follow the principal and take a seat next to him at the front of the hall. George waited by the door until he saw Annie coming toward him in a great gaggle of kids in blue uniforms. As she walked past him, he grabbed her sleeve and pulled her out into the great river of children flowing into the hall. We've got to go, he whispered in her ear. Now. Where? Asked Annie. Where have we got to go? Your dad's fallen into a black hole, said George. Follow me. We have to rescue him.